maker for the soul, shelter from the storm, thunder and lightning can be very frightening, but God is in control.
Good morning. My name is Steve Ozanne, and I appreciate being asked to share some of my thoughts from days 7, 8, and 9 of our Hebrew study, which includes chapter 4 and verse 14 through the end of chapter 6. And my thoughts will be brief and focused on 4 points, which we'd like to show you now. The first is that Jesus is my high priest. Second, why I need him. Third, how I can approach him. And fourth, what I will receive from him. You know, it's kind of a little shaking to look at myself on the video screen while I'm recording this, and honestly, my thought has been, Steve, you look old. Now, I know the campus brothers and sisters are going, okay, Steve, get real. You are old. But maybe we could come to a compromise, which I do, and that's to simply say, I look older than I used to be. Okay, now we have that out of the way. Thanks for your patience there. So let's read Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14 through 16. Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So the first thought is that Jesus is my high priest. Now, don't be too sensitive and say, well, wait a minute, isn't he mine too? Yes, he is your high priest as well, but I'm the guy who's giving the lesson, so he's mine. Ha! All right, well, how do we know that? And well, God appointed him, and these are things you'll pick up as you read through Hebrews, and I won't go through all the references. God appointed him to be a high priest. Jesus experienced the full range of temptations that we would ever face in our lives. Jesus was made perfect for this role as high priest through what he suffered. Jesus made the ultimate sacrifice for us by giving his life, and Jesus is in the right place to be the high priest, to be my high priest, and that is, he has gone through the heavens, he's seated at the right hand of God, he is in God's very presence. As it says later in chapter 6, he's gone through the curtain, and he is in the Holy of Holies. All right, so next, why I need him. This time of coronavirus has been showing me things about myself and about my heart, especially in the area of fear. And you know, that's not been at all easy to face. Fear of getting older, fear of illness, fear of financial loss, fear of just so many things. And fortunately, God has helped me to get in touch with those fears, and I can bring them to Jesus, my high priest, and find healing. You know, there's a lot of things in the book of Hebrews that are called warnings or encouragements for different things, and we can all find ourselves and our weakness somewhere in the book of Hebrews. Now, the good thing I've realized is that, fortunately, I'm not all of those things all at once. So don't be discouraged, but if the warning applies, or as they say, if the shoe fits, okay, wear it and bring it to Jesus. The third thing is, how can I approach him? All right, well, with confidence. And why with confidence? Because he loves me. He cares deeply about me. He feels for me. He sympathizes with me, not criticize. He sympathizes with me. But I need to be vulnerable. I need to be open with what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. That's what I need to do. Come before him with complete openness and without shame. Let's look at another passage. This one is Hebrews 5, 7 through 8. And this gives us a great insight into Jesus' prayer life, but also a great example of how we can approach God. In the days of his flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and supplications with loud cries and tears to God, to him who was able to save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverence. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. See, Jesus sent us an example about how to approach God with reverent submission. I'm reading this passage here about Jesus' prayer life. The obvious application is when he was in Gethsemane, just prior to his crucifixion, praying to God with humility that God would spare his life. But I think that this statement, in the days of his life, refers to more than just one day. I think and I picture that Jesus frequently spent his private time in prayer, agonizing, crying, pleading to God for us, for the people that he had met that day, for the hard-hearted Pharisees that he had tried to reach out to, for his disciples who were struggling. I believe that that's the heart of Jesus, not just about his own death, but about all of us. He's compassionate. He's concerned. He is our Savior and our great high priest. So the fourth thought is, what will I receive from him? And thinking back to the first passage we read in Hebrews 4, I will receive grace, which means I'll receive things that I do not deserve, and I'll receive mercy, which means I won't get the things that I deserve. But also, I love that expression, help in time of need. For my weaknesses, for my fears, for the challenges and concerns in my life. When I go to Jesus as my high priest, I will receive help in time of need. Let's look at one more passage here. This is a little bit longer. It's from Hebrews 6, 13 through 20. For when God made a promise to Abraham, since he had no one greater by whom to swear, God swore by himself, saying, Abraham, surely I will bless you and multiply you. And Abraham patiently waited and obtained the promise. For people swear by something greater than themselves, and in all their disputes, an oath is final for confirmation. So when God desired to show more convincingly to the heirs of the promise the unchangeable character of his purpose, he guaranteed it with an oath, so that by two unchangeable things, in which it is impossible for God to lie, notice, we, who have fled for refuge, might have strong encouragement to hold fast to the hope set before us. We have this hope as a sure and steadfast anchor for the soul. A hope that enters into the inner place behind the curtain where Jesus has gone as a forerunner on our behalf. What I will receive from Jesus when I go to him as my high priest is a safe place, a refuge, a safe place where I am welcomed with love. And something I've been doing recently, and I've been doing this in prayer, is trying to, with God's help, create in my own mind a safe place with the Lord. A little bit like a mind palace, a place that I can go in my thoughts and meditations where I find great peace and comfort. And the nice thing is that that can be anything I want. So think about that. Maybe ask God to help you build the refuge for your soul. The other thing this passage says is that when we go to Jesus as our high priest, we will receive an anchor for the soul, an anchor for my soul. Of course, he's talking about the great hope that we have in Jesus. But the anchor for the soul, what's an anchor? An anchor, if you hold on to an anchor, it keeps you from drifting. It holds you steady and secure. I'd like to share a little funny incident from, it's been about 15 or more years ago. Bev, my wife, has 4 brothers, and all but one of her cousins are also boys or men. And one of her brothers said, let's have a father-son vacation. And we went to Northern California to this big house on a beautiful lake to spend a week together. And we could go hiking, and we rented a large pontoon boat for the week. And those who wanted to fish could go out on the boat and fish, and we could also go out in the middle of the lake and swim or pull an inner tube. It was really a lot of fun. Now, I was almost always the first one up early in the morning. I wanted to have my quiet time with the Lord. That was my routine. So I would go into the kitchen, make the coffee, get a cup of coffee, and sit down and read my Bible. I looked out the window and I noticed that the pontoon boat was not at the edge of the lake where it had been moored the night before. And when you looked at the shore, there were a number of buoys along the shore which were anchored securely to the bottom of the lake. So all you had to do was tie the boat to one of those buoys, and it was secure. So I thought, well, maybe Joel got up early. Maybe Joel and Mike got up early to go fishing. So when Joel came in to get his cup of coffee and Mike, I said, oh, guys, did John, did they go fishing? He goes, I don't know. Well, fast forward in the story, when all of us were in the kitchen and none of us were on the boat. It's like, oh my goodness, where is our boat? So you know what happened? That one particular buoy was not anchored to the bottom of the lake. No way to know, but the boat had actually drifted overnight about a half mile up the coast. And it took the local sheriff and his boat to drag the boat back to the place we rented it, and then we were able to reclaim it. So what's the point of all that story? If you're going to anchor your life to an anchor, make sure it's an anchor that is secure. As far as I'm concerned, the anchor of my life is Jesus, my high priest. And this lesson reminded me of a song that we love to sing in our worship together, and that is written by Brian Craig from the Los Angeles Church, and it's called Anchor for the Soul. I'll just read one part of the lyrics, and we can enjoy some of the song. You can also find this song on YouTube if you'd like to listen to it more completely. Anchor for the soul, shelter from the storm. Thunder and the lightning can be very frightening, but God is in control. Anchor for the soul, shelter from the storm, manna in the morning, blessings overflowing, leading us to home. Brothers and sisters, I love you. Let's all anchor our soul to Jesus, our high priest.
Anchor for the soul, shelter from the storm. Thunder and lightning can be very frightening, but God is in control.